Welcome, race fans, back to SVR. This is the S2 round 7 of the Sim Racing World Championship for VR drivers here in 2026. My name is Webbo, here to bring you today's race. As always, we've got the championship situation on your screen right now. It's Yank the Tank leading on 71 points after just one win, one third place and one second place on 71, and he is just ahead of Thump in P2 for PSV Racing, another winner of course. Scavvy is higher than some other winners so far in the season. Scavvy in P3, but only one clear of Nigel Mansnell, with Jailhouse Chris back on 61 points in 5th, Jogon Sim in 6th position ahead of Grinch, Hobbit, Senor Dude, Nintendo, Liquid Gecko, John Pauly and Biggerwood, with Ron Giles in P14 in the championship so far. In our team standings, we have Bro Karga heading the S2 field ahead of Mega Racing, with PSV in 3rd, Igalo in 4th, Hector Motorsports, Team Cyan and Gecko Racing in the following positions, hoping to get into the lead battles here. Of course, for S2 we are at Red Bull Ring today, and we are ready for a very quick reverse championship order sprint race to get us underway. Then Ron Giles and John P are at the head of the field for this one. We will enjoy 8 laps all on soft tyres, and for a real sprint around the Spielberg Mountains. Sprint race for round 7 begins. And he's dropped the clutch, and go, go, go. Fourth place, Nintendo struggling away from the line in his Igala Motorsports car, and it's John P who gets the inside line heading into turn 1, but Ron Giles will be much faster, sweeping around the outside. Liquid Gecko squeezing that Gecko between 2 rivals as Senor Dude is closing up as well, up from further back into P3 now. Senor Dude, Monsieur Keith in P4. And we've got John P dropping from the front row down to P6, being absolutely crowded out at the start of this one. As we head on, then the drivers will be engaging their boost on the way down these long runs, try and get that extra bit of speed. Nintendo away from the back, very neat and tidily as well. Ron Giles building the gap, and Liquid Gecko and Sir Grinch vie over second position with Senor Duda Michel Keefe. It's great to see every different team represented at the top half of the field here in the sprint race, as the drivers who started at the back are slowly but surely trying to make their way up to still feature on the sprint race podium. Ron Giles P1, Sir Grinch P2, with Liquid Gecko, Senor Dude and Michel Keefe. Senor Dude down the inside into turn 9. That was neatly done. I don't know if Keefe was paying off a penalty through that section, but Nigel Mansnell on the tail of this group, and then we've got John P fighting with Thump. Thump trying to take yet another place away from John. And actually, I think managing it in the end there. Thump in the PSV Racing. There's a yellow flag on the circuit. We will find out who that was for as soon as they are done being overtaken. It's Ron Giles from the lead of the race. Absolutely awful situation for him. It says danger on his back wing. It's Ron Danger Giles, I think, as he tries to get out of the way there. Huge tank slapper, but I'm sure it's not the only one we're going to see this race. Unfortunately, this race meet anyway, unfortunately. So Grinch is now your new leader ahead of Liquid Gecko, who has a half a second penalty on his Gecko racing car. We've got Michel Keefe in P3, Nigel Mansnell, Senor Dude in 5th, looking to make moves here and move forward as quickly as possible. Senor Dude from 9th in the championship, 5th on the grid, on the standings so far in this sprint race. Thump in P6. It's a cloudy Saturday racing for the group here in S2. It's Liquid Gecko though. It's Saturday for sprint time, as Liquid Gecko had an issue there coming down. He was in second position here, heading down in towards turn 4 now. Just too late on the brakes, and the front axle just completely refused to play there, trying to rejoin as safely as possible. But I think John P may feel a little bit aggrieved about that one. Let's see it from his driver's point of view. He wasn't quite sure. I don't know if he was reacting or having his own problem here before the Liquid Gecko went wide and was rejoining. John turns into the corner, goes for the... No, I think he probably was slightly distracted there. I wouldn't go as far as to say that was an unsafe rejoin, but it was not unsafe, if you take what I mean. And Yank's gone begging as well. Same corner for Yank. Here he is. coming through. Oh, just everybody. He didn't quite know what he was going to do. Take your mind off what the wheels feel like they're doing at that particular point. Yank the Tank defending that championship lead down to the back, and it's the group here at the back of the grid planning to make their next moves. I would imagine we've got some damage on the cars right now, but Sir Grinch leads here. He was 7th in the championship coming into our race weekend today. Sir Grinch is in the lead ahead of Monsieur Keefe, who has had a really good run. Hobbit, as you may know him, in the midfield, mid-pack of our championship standings right now. Similar situation for Nigel Mansell, 4th going into the sprint race. He's in P3, and we've got Thump moving forward as well. Thump trying to take Yank the Tank's lead of the championship away. Came in only 5 points away, and this sprint race positioning will be very promising relative to where Yank the Tank currently finds himself, where the Thump had time in the moment to really think about that other than what's going on behind and in front of me. I will wait to hear confirmation in the comments. Senor Dude diving to the inside there with Scabby in his Bro Carga 27. Hot on the heels of the Mega Racing driver, with a Mega Racing driver directly behind. That's Jailhouse Chris, 5th in our championship, double race winner as well. The only man to win twice in the season so far here in S2. Jailhouse Chris will have started close to the back of the grid, will be right back now, fighting with P3 in the championship, Scabby, as they run on. It is lap 3 of the 8, big gap back to Liquid Gecko, followed by Jogon Sim, Nintindu, and Ron Yank John being the rearmost 3 drivers. Just looking at our provisional podium here for a moment, as Thump is hot on the heels of Nigel Mansell, and then we have very close battling going on. Jailhouse Chris to the inside of the 27 of Scabby. Didn't quite make the move work out for him. Wasn't quite close enough to go for it, but signalling one type of intention at least at this point. We'll see if that builds into a second attempt. Hopefully it will. As we have Scabby then in that 6th place. Liquid Gecko is dropping back off this group a little bit. Definitely a race of two halves of the field so far. Jailhouse Chris is absolutely on it here. Let's join him on the gyrocam. We're heading through turn 8, and we are forecast some rain for the feature race, so it'll be very difficult for the drivers to adjust, going from a fast and furious sprint to what may be a difficult management and style of feature race here. Having a look into turn 1, nothing doing for Jailhouse Chris at this point. Liquid Gecko, we look back to him, and Jogon Sim in 8th and 9th. Ron Giles is in 10th place, has retaken a couple of drivers there. This is Jogon Sim using the slipstream on Liquid Gecko ahead. It's interesting because unless you are all the way alongside, the inside runs into these 2 corners. The inside lines are not actually particularly good for overtaking because they're so low grip down there, and the traction is on the outside of the corners. Here is Jogon Sim, just 2 wheels over on the apex. It's going to cost him a little bit, as Ron Giles will be feeling like he has much better pace here. Only joined us in round 5, Ron, but scored 5 points in that 5th round. It's now round 7 of the championship. More points, of course, on offer here today, as they were in round 3, inclusive of the sprint. Igala Motorsports will not want to have this sprint race scores count today. It's very difficult for them. John P right at the back may have had another problem there. John P, I think he has another issue. So Grinch driving incredibly well here. 1 round 3, bronze, a bronze coloured 3rd position in the feature race, and round 6 as well. There goes Nigel Mansell to the outside, wheel to wheel, and that was as close as you want to get these drivers here before actually making any kind of further contact. We'll have another check of that one. Perhaps look at it from Thump's perspective here. get the best seat in the house as he waits to see what his PSV Racing teammate is going to do. Oh, okay, interesting. So as far as this replay is concerned, Nigel kind of turned in to Monsieur Keefe there. Thump with a little wandering across to the right-hand side, going all the way around the outside of his teammate. I'm not sure if his teammate's going to give this one up particularly easily, but seems to be a-okay right now. There we go. Thump across and into second place from fourth earlier on this very lap. Senor Dude has caught this group as well. As they battle, they slow each other down, and Senor Dude putting in some good lap times to put himself in contention. Nigel Mansell, retaliatory move there coming, but unfortunately, wow, that was dramatic from Mansell. Let's see, as he goes for the pass, went to the inside, very late decision there, and then even later on the brakes, tries to turn across the apex, pitches it into a spin, and there will be lasting damage on the Brokaga 81 there. Oscar Piastri would not be proud of that one, or that one, unfortunately. Sorry about that, to catch all of that in intricate detail. Therefore, the Brokaga ace, Nigel Mansell, unfortunately, looks like this is not going to be a success story, this sprint race. We've got Monsieur Keefe under threat from Senor Dude. Keefe, or Hobbit, sweeping around the outside there. Oh, and Senor Dude did not do well at coming on out of turn 3. What happened to Senor? Touch at the apex. Looked like he'd regathered it. Just over the curb, unfortunately. I think we might have slightly ground out there. Jogon Sim picking up positions after a difficult start to the race, but he's having plenty of company down at the back of the grid, unfortunately, today for the rest of our races. So Grinch is on his 7th racing lap of 8. Could this be a double podium for PSV Racing in 2nd and 3rd positions? Thump ahead of Monsieur Keefe. Thump trying to close the gap on Yank the Tank, who may not score, who may not manage to finish in the top 8 positions today here in our sprint race. And those are the points paying positions, as Jailhouse Chris would rather make this a 3-team podium than a 2-team podium. You see Sir Grinch starting his final lap up ahead in the distance here at Austria. Scabby in 5th, Liquid Gecko in 6th. Jogon Sim ahead of Senor Dude, who is recovering. And Joe off on turn 1. I said we probably wouldn't be the only time we saw that today. Fortunately, it has happened again. This time for Jogon Sim. Sir Grinch rounds out of turn 3. Another long run. You would in F1s, F2 and F3 see DRS opening here, but not in the SF23 cars that we operate with in the S divisions of the VR Sim Racing World Championship. We've got Jailhouse Chris in 4th, Monsieur Keefe in 3rd position, as Thump looks like he's going to secure 2nd place with a good distance. He's just picked up a penalty on his final run here, but that won't worry him too much. Sir Grinch in his Gecko Racing colour scheme. The 236 is going to take the sprint race here at Austria. A fantastic run from Grinch ahead of Thump and Monsieur Keefe for PSV Racing. Jailhouse Chris in 4th, Scabby in 5th, Liquid Gecko in 6th position. We've got Senor Dude in 7th with Ron Giles in 8th. After drama at the very start for Ron, we've got Nintendo in P9, followed by Jogon Sim. We have Nigel Mansell coming through in 11th, Yank the Tank in 12th. Both of those drivers will be suffering a bit of damage. Will Yank be able to just pip Nigel to the line? Not quite, but that's important for the championship. Both drivers not scoring, and John P will come home in 13th. Your sprint race podium, Sir Grinch, Thump and Monsieur Keefe. I'll be right back with commentary, but it takes a little bit to set up a second replay in one stream, so I'll get back to you in a few moments. Well, after our qualifying session for the feature race, saw John P qualifying in 13th position with Liquid Gecko in 12th. Senor Dude alongside him on the 6th row in P11. And I should just check on tyre situation. We do have some standing water. There was a brief shower on the track before we got underway. So dry tyres, dry softs for our drivers so far. Liquid Gecko choosing the mediums. Yank the Tank, just the back half of Yank the Tank, unfortunately, on this camera angle, qualifying in 10th position, starts on the soft tyres. We've got Sir Grinch, likewise, in 9th place. Unusually low position for Yank and Sir Grinch to qualify down there. We've got Nintendo in P8 here, the Texan and boss of Katana Studio. We'll say some new graphics utilizing that system. On the stream, we've got Scavvy in P7, Nintendo. Scavvy in 7th. We've got Nigel Mansnail making it two drivers line astern here for Brokaga. Nigel Mansnail starting on the soft tyres. Then we have Mush O'Keefe in 5th with Thump on softs as well. Ron Giles has gone for the treaded intermediate tyres. The first driver I've seen on those treaded tyres. Will that pay to be a smart decision to be different to everybody, or will that be a problematic one? Ron Giles starting then on the mediums, on the intermediates on P3. Jailhouse Chris got a front row start on the soft tyres, and Joe Gonsim got the pole position lap then for our race. So we will get everybody situated. We'll get ready to go. Remember that Ron Giles is on those intermediate tyres. Will it be as good a start for him as Lando Norris at the Canadian Grand Prix this year? Well, let's wait and see then. 5 red lights indicate the start of a 36-lap feature race here at Red Bull Ring. And it's dropped the clutch, and it's go, go, go. Joe Gonsim away well with Jailhouse Chris and Thump. Ron Giles slower away on those intermediate tyres, but it will be wetter offline. He will be able to battle with more confidence, but Ron Giles dropping 3 positions at the start of the race. The PSV racers getting right up into the mix there for the podium, but Sir Grinch is already up into P4. We've got to watch that again from Grinch's point of view. And see how we managed that one. Well, there was one position getting by, and then it is quite a blocked bunch of traffic in front. Many drivers, though, getting that first corner wrong. Sir Grinch absolutely nailing it, and here he is in P4 and looking at a possible move for P3 as the PSV peels across in front of him. Thought that line was covered. Sir Grinch goes for it down the inside. Soft tyres working hard, working well for Sir Grinch, but on the outside line, on the exit of turn 3, Mush O'Keefe has the better traction on the way through. Sir Grinch then in 4th. Thump in P5, and we've got, it looks like Nigel Mansnail challenging at the back there as well in the background, but with Senor Dude. But Thump is side by side here with Sir Grinch. Thump going for the move down the inside into turn 6, and we do, as I say, have some standing water on the racetrack. We may be expecting some rain at the first portion of this race, possibly the first quarter to third of the race was the forecast. Where is Ron Giles right now? He's on the intermediate tyres. He is holding other drivers up because he cannot get any performance out of them just yet. It is not intermediate conditions, but it may well be very soon. Nintendo, unfortunately, has dropped down to P13. Jailhouse Chris leads us, has got past Joe Gonsim. Let's have a look how that worked out. It was actually Joe when he wasn't in a penalty situation. This is Jailhouse Chris absolutely going for the move on the way down into turn 4, getting that inside line. We were watching the battle pack behind them as this happened, and that partly explained why Mush O'Keefe was a little bit slower off the race, off the corner that time, because he did have an overtake happen directly in front of him. Keefe ahead of Thump. For now at least. Thump goes to the inside line. Thump in no mood to wait for team instructions, just goes for it down the inside, and he has definitely got his racing gloves on today. Thump absolutely monstering the start of this race. Mush O'Keefe in 4th. Sir Grinch, who had a flying start, now back down to 5th. Senor Dude in 6th. Nigel Mansnail is in front of Yank the Tank. They both underperformed in the sprint race. Can they get this back into position where they can go back to their normal places on our race at the sharp end of the grid. Yenk going deep on the outside. What an overtake from Yenk in the end there in the Agala Motorsports car. Beautiful work from Yenk. You don't often see drivers half on, half off the track on the outside succeeding in making the overtake, but he did it. Nigel Mansell coming straight back towards Yenk the Tank here. The drivers will be using a little bit of boost. Watch out for those painted curbs, those normal dry condition outside, slightly outside of track limits options, because the water just sits in there. It is in there. You can see that on the standing water display to the left of the tyres. That is a percentage of standing water. I think the percentage of the tread on a tyre that is then able or not able to displace that water. So Grinch is drawing alongside out of turn 10. He really does have this car hooked up for traction, Grinch, and we see behind there as Grinch gives up the move. Senor Dude is still defending hard from the potential one coming from Yenk the Tank, who again goes around the outside. Yenk the Tank absolutely on fire right now, as he's fired up from, I think, that sprint race situation, but he's straight at everybody. He's got such a good strong line going on the way into this turn 3. Drivers think that they have a chance on the inside, but he's just so late, much later on the brakes. All 4 wheels on those curbs, I think, helping him to just bring the speed of the car down to what it can manage to turn in on. But he is very, very strong into that turn. It wasn't slow off turn 1 either, as they fly past our camera position. Lap 3 of the 36. Jailhouse Chris is in 4th place. Mush O'Keefe in 3rd. Yenk the Tank in 6th, with Sir Grinch in between himself and Jailhouse Chris. For now at least, but those soft tyres working very well for them. Most of the drivers at the front of our grid. Mush O'Keefe paying off a track limit in race penalty. That's why he dropped back, unfortunately, so far. Thump is in 2nd, chasing down Joe Gonsim, who, just like most drivers when leading, suddenly finding life a lot easier out there, and a lot better for concentrating on your own pace than being in the thick of all these battles. That's Senor Dude, who was very lively on the racetrack, trying to tackle here Mush O'Keefe. Meanwhile, we've got a Mega versus PSV situation further up the grid. Here they are, heading into the turn 3. Unfortunately, Jailhouse Chris running wide, picking up a penalty due to his rejoin there with just a trace too much throttle on the car off the official track limits. Scavvy goes by, possibly a little bit of boost being utilised there. Somewhat leaves the door open to Senor Dude. Sir Grinch has gone way down in the order. Sir Grinch has dropped back here, fighting with Jailhouse Chris. Let's have a look what might or might not have taken place here. Well, there might be a little squeeze there potentially in the braking, the approach to the braking zone. Sir Grinch turns across. Jailhouse Chris does he, and gets a second helping from the Mega Racing driver. I think it was one of those inevitable racing incidents, but Sir Grinch and Jailhouse Chris coming into contact. Chris coming off a lot better there into 3rd position, and I don't think we'll have picked up any damage. Still no active rain on the race at this time, and there is Nigel Mansell. Much more success in this feature race than he had in the sprint race. Yenk the Tank taking an unusual line, almost a pit entry line through turn 9. I think must have been regathering the car there, using the boost to try and stay ahead of Scavvy, but Scavvy finds the inside lane on the way into turn 1. Yenk's good on the outside, but Scavvy clears him down the inside on a classic overtake, and now he's hitting the overtake boost button to help him down the straightaway. I wonder if we just saw the faint hint of a little bit of rain. Usually go to the driver eye view. It doesn't really help when they haven't got windshield wipers on the car. I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Lap 5 of the 36. The soft tyre runners will be hoping that the rain does come on the sooner side, and that would help them keep their tyres cool and use the tread for a while anyway. Soft tyres are a good tyre to be on in those dry to wet or wet to dry conditions. As soon as you're using a medium or a hard tyre, the temperatures drop off very quickly, and obviously their grip drops as well. So Grinch down in 9th after that recovery. Yank the Tank in P7 in the white Igala Motorsports livery. One of our most popular liveries there for Igala, as he is hot on the throttle once again, and the boost on the way up to turn 1. Really does seem to have got his setup and his technique really down for this this race weekend, especially in the feature race. Yank the Tank looks very smooth and confident, braking wider on the track than other drivers, exiting wider on the track than other drivers, but keeping it stable. Unfortunately, Senor Dude, I think the second time we've seen him into turn 3, struggle to get the turn in and the apex that he was looking for. Ron Giles is in 12th place right now. Nintendo just about see the Cyan Racing driver there in the place above him, but here is Jogon Sim, and it has now just started to rain for the drivers. As we have a look, we should see a little bit of rain. We can see some raindrops on the halo even here as we head on into turn 9. It's not a big concern for the driver. It's almost a psychological rain at this stage, where they can see it on their visor, but they're not necessarily experiencing any real drop-off in grip. We'll see if the rain intensifies. As things stand, this is still dry weather conditions, and you know that Ron Giles on the intermediates has nearly worn them half away. He comes in as it starts to rain. I know we had a similar situation. Looks like Jogon Sim might have just lost a bunch of time, but his Thump has just got by. Joe, what happened here? He was just slow through turn 1. Maybe he was slower down the start-finish straightaway as well. But Jogon Sim losing out as we get a new race leader. It is Thump picking up a purple sector there. And Jailhouse Chris is looking for Jogon Sim's now second position. A good bit of boost being utilised here, as we did see some rain momentarily. It hasn't yet materialised into anything much stronger. Jailhouse Chris down the inside of Jogon Sim. Very nicely done there, lap 7. But we do appear to have quite a bit of cloud on the racetrack. Please, guys, stay off those curbs as soon as it starts to rain. It's too wet out there for safety. Nigel Mansnell is right in the mix here. But Thump, fresh from a strong sprint race performance and second in the championship coming in, leads us on this 7th lap of the 36. Lots of strategy still to play into the drivers' calculations and performances today. We'll be looking at potentially a new amount of fuel saving, and then we've got the tyre situation as well. As soon as they use a wet compound, an intermediate compound, excuse me, of tyres, they will have utilised the 2-tyre compound rule as well. I'll just check what Ron Giles did. He came out on dry tyres on the mediums here. Still expecting more rain than we have had so far. Certainly it was more intensive in the S1 race. Jogon Sim picking up a 1-second penalty. Looks like his time in the mix for the podium, for now at least in the race, will have gone by. Joe in that 3rd place will decelerate, have his engine power cut for the prescribed amount of time. Scavy's in 5th place, and then there's a nice tight battle right now. Mushokif for PSV, Yank the Tank for Igala Motorsports, chased down by Sir Grinch for the Gecko Racing Squad. These three used to fighting amongst each other here, as Yank gets overtaken down the inside by Sir Grinch through turn 9. Big snap from Grinch, well saved there in unfamiliar territory on the inside lane, but Yank focusing on his exit out of the final corner, might be in a position here to get the place back here, and they head into turn 1. Yank stretching every millimetre possible from track limits on the run through the corners, but no way through this time. Looks like Sir Grinch is almost an equal on the way through these turns. We've got Mushokif in 6th, Scavy in 5th, Jogon Sim in 4th place now after the penalty. Nigel in third, Jailhouse Chris in second, and there is Thump leading our race on this 9th racing lap. Of course, the laps tick by very quickly here at our Red Bull Ring. And it does look like the worst of the rain has passed us by here. Looks like the drivers were never really in need of wet tyres. Ron Giles took a gamble. He was, unfortunately for him, the only one to take that gamble, however, and it hasn't paid off, putting intermediates on pretty much when we got the only rain we have had so far in the race. The lesson of many a decade of wet and dry races seems to be just always be on the right tyre for the conditions as they are. Don't try and second guess or anticipate conditions that are predicted to occur. It seems to be a very difficult one. They will have been shown the standing water graphic, and that was on the edge of being a good too much for the dry tyres to cope with, but unfortunately it didn't actually eventuate into any serious rain at this point for Ron, who started on those intermediate tyres. Not the gamble to go with today. It is Michelle Keefe then, 6th position, chasing down Scabby the Brocaga, green and gold. Sir Grinch gapping Yank the Tank since making that overtake. We know Sir Grinch has got amazing speed. He's already won this season, and he has designs on featuring among our podium positions, I think, for the championship this season when things are all said and done. Sir Grinch there in 7th for now, at least. We've got Yank in 8th and Senor Dude in 9th. Liquid Gecko's in 10th, with John P has dropped further and further back, unfortunately. Ron Giles in 12th and Nintendo in 13th place. But Jogon Sim, John P's teammate, is still there in 4th place, has picked up a little bit more pace relative to the car in front now. Soft tyres will very much be going off here. Anyone on mediums at the start of the race will now suddenly start to feel like they are able to battle with drivers who previously they have not been able to. Senor Dude is one of those out here in the 9th place in the Team Mega Car. Drivers will be expecting to make probably 2 stops today. The feature race nowhere near as long as the S1 races, but it's still a pretty large amount of racing, especially as we get into now the summer conditions for most of our Northern Hemisphere drivers. Things do get a little bit warm with a VR helmet on for an extended period of time. Excuse me. Ron Giles in 12th. We've got John P there in 11th place. Nintendo has just pitted and gone onto the medium tyres, with 11 laps having now been begun, at least for him. Thump is on his 12th racing lap and is leading the way. Jailhouse Chris, P2, not letting Thump get away, in fact getting a purple first sector that time, Jailhouse Chris, without the benefit of any slipstream, so just a little bit of boost being used there as we near the in-lap portion of the end of the soft tyre stint. Hopefully we'll be in very soon and we'll start to get a big mix-up of the race order. Here is Scabby in 5th, and then we go back to Michelle Keefe, the second of the PSV Racing drivers today. Michelle Keefe, Hobbit, the owner of PSV Racing. That's at PSV Racing on YouTube. Don't forget Yank the Tank, also with a popular YouTube channel, and VR Hot Laps as well, our creators in the league. It's great to have all the video making expertise among us. We've got Michelle Keefe there, and into the pit lane comes Sir Grinch off the soft tyres. He was one of the drivers who have struggled the most on those soft tyres, I think, among the top group so far. Everybody else's issues seem to have been around battling rather than loss of grip. So I imagine he'll be pretty happy to put some medium tyres on. Jailhouse Chris going faster and faster at this stage. A 1:16.2 was the last lap. 1:17.2, the same lap from Thump. So Jailhouse Chris, as I said, has already won 2 races this season, the only driver to win 2 feature races this season. The first and the 5th rounds of this 2026 racing season. Could he make it the first driver to be on 3 wins after only 7 rounds of this great championship? Time will tell, of course. Scavy is in 3rd place. Has got Mushakif not far behind him as well. Current times just over the 1:17 mark, but I can see some red flashes there occurring, especially on Mushakif's axles as he runs through. I would expect he's probably headed in now. Is Keith? Yeah, but Scavy goes in at exactly the same lap as well. Senor Dude, remember the lead driver on the medium tyres. They will go probably twice this distance so far. Might even get away with a 1-stopper here today if our soft tyres have managed 13 complete laps, as most everybody else is in the pits. Here is Liquid Gecko, who will join Senor Dude in front of that group now, thanks to selecting the mediums early doors. We've got Joe Gonsim, who's on a brand new set of mediums there, the number 60. He stopped the lap prior and has gone onto them, and will be hoping that he can undercut the drivers that he was behind of before. I think he might have managed to extend his gap, but not actually overtake anybody at this stage. Scavy's in 6th right now, but remember we have Thump and Jailhouse Chris yet to make their pit stops. Sir Grinch in 7th ahead of Mushakif as they run on. Ron Giles, who switched out onto the mediums several laps ago and has great pace. Unfortunately, right now that gamble on intermediate is not working out at this stage of proceedings. Jailhouse Chris is in 2nd and has now pitted. Thump is staying out for another flying lap here to get through to lap 16. That has to be in 1-stop territory then, if he can make lap 16. I would have thought it'd be the same deal for Jailhouse Chris. Let's go back to check on Thump here, who's actually going faster than anybody has been so far down into starter sector 2. The tyres, I would imagine, are not conducive to hot lapping right now this moment, but he's putting in a very, very strong in-lap, I believe, is what's happening here. Some overtake being used, not a lot though to this point, but we have spent more than half of that so far. We're into the 2nd half of our race. No, we're not. I can't divide 36 by 2, it seems, right now. We're getting there though. We're definitely into the 2nd third of the race. Here comes Thump. He rounds turn 9 and will make this one his in-lap. So Senor Dude, I would imagine it's about a 25-second pit stop time. Senor Dude will get by quite comfortably within this pit stop period for Thump. But of course he will have to make a pit stop onto the soft tyres later on in the race. Senor Dude up to P1 now. Lap 16 begins. This is Thump's pit stop underway. Jailhouse Chris, I'm sure, will get by. Thump, despite the fact that Thump appears further up the road here, he will be much slower out of the pit lane. The pit lane is a wet pit lane as well. If there has been any rain, then the pit lane entry and exit sections stay treacherous here at Red Bull Ring, as our G2 drivers found out last year. Jailhouse Chris in P3. This time round, our 2nd tier driver cohort have had the better of the weather versus our top tier, who are racing what was supposed to be the same conditions on the same racing day. Liquid Gecko's just picked up a 1.5 second penalty to pay off. Jogon Sim should get P4 back as a result of that. Thump came out in P2. Senor Dude yet to pit is up the road from him, but Thump ahead of Jailhouse Chris. Not a huge distance between the two drivers. Jailhouse Chris's medium tyres will be at a better place right now. 20 laps to go, plus the end of the one that they are on right now, as Liquid Gecko takes that penalty. Joe Gonsim back to 4th place as he tries to stay in the hunt for the championship. His best overall of 15.7 on the previous lap which is on new medium tyres. Remember, the fuel just burns off. No refueling is allowed in our SF23 championships. Both S1 and S2 start with a fixed fuel load that should be enough for them to complete almost all the laps of the race. They do tend to have to do a little bit of race fuel management through the course of the race, and it's better for them to spend their boost before in the first half of the race in the calculations for how much fuel they'll have left. We shall see what happens next then as we near the halfway point of the race now. This is Senor Dude with the white helmet in the Mega Racing colours. Comes through. Sets a second sector that is just over half a second slower than his absolute best so far. It's to be expected, even though the fuel weight of the car is decreasing. The available grip on those mediums will also be decreasing at a similar rate. We've got lap 17 at 36. Thump is in second. Jailhouse Chris in third. Jogon Sim in fourth place. A real train of midfield drivers. Liquid Gecko ahead of Scavvy, Sir Grinch, Ron Giles, and others. At least Mr. O'Keefe in this hunt, and Yank the Tank. Yank losing out quite a significant amount in that pit stop section of our race. This is Ron Giles starting on the inters and on the mediums now. Using quite a bit of fuel, the drivers to this point. Under 25% of their fuel tanks left. They didn't start with 100 litres, so they're okay in terms of their usage rate. But we were half expecting to see some S1 drivers run out of fuel in the S1 race. No spoilers, of course, but they did 53 laps around this Red Bull ring. If you don't like this racetrack after 53 racing laps, I don't think you're ever going to. Yank the Tank in P10. Nigel Mansell further back from this group, but Yank looking like the man most likely at this stage here. Oh, very wide through 7. Using the boost again here, Yank in towards turn 9. Of course, no way through, but Mr. O'Keefe will be able to notice exactly what's going on with Yank. Know that he's using the boost, catching him at an unnatural rate, we have to say here. Let's go and look at this from the back here. This is on board with Mr. O'Keefe, or just in front of Mr. O'Keefe, as we look back to Yank the Tank. Yank with those frighteningly good exits of the corner. Not quite the top speed this time. In fact, Mr. O'Keefe has suddenly been woken up by the on-rushing Yank the Tank there, and has suddenly put in a purple first sector of the race on lap 19 on new medium tyres here. Ahead of them, we've got Ron Giles still pushing, but he's got a 2-second penalty now. Both Gecko Racing cars are in 6th and 7th positions. Slightly different choice of base colour, I think, there for the two cars. So Grinch and Liquid Gecko appears to have a little bit more blue or turquoise in his base colour, perhaps than Grinch, who you would expect to be the greener of the paint choices if he can ever get away with it. I'm sure he did. Mr. O'Keefe got by Ron Giles. Yank the Tank did not, thanks to those penalty seconds that Ron had to pay. Ron down in 9th, Yank in 10th. And as I say, the weight of defending the championship is affecting Yank, I think, at this stage. This is not the Yank that we've seen previously in the season, so I would imagine. I saw that he put a video out, a promo for this race that he broadcast live from his POV, as him saying he's defending the title, the lead of the championship. Absolutely accurate, but it tells you a little bit about maybe the mindset going in to the race. Was he already thinking about the drivers behind of him in that sense? Jailhouse Chris, 2.5 second penalty. Wow, that is kind of murder punishment. Jogon Sim gets another place thanks to time penalties from drivers around him. Vader was telling me before the race here that turns 9 and 10 are crazy tight, and you can pick up huge penalties. Jailhouse Chris picked up another big one there, 1 second going through turn 10. Turn 1 is another track limit dodgy place. Turn 8 likewise as you turn right out of 7. This is Scabby in 5th, Liquid Gecko. Busy racetrack behind Liquid Gecko. His teammates just lost a position, I think, to Mr. Keefe, who makes his way by. Keefe on those newer medium tyres. Another purple sector from Keefe. Suddenly found something through turn 1, I think, Keefe. More so than anybody else. Through that first sector, Ron Giles is in 9th. I don't think Keefe has been picking up huge slipstreams, but possibly. I think there's a lot of technique going into turn 1, and he's found something he hadn't found before, a different line perhaps, or a missing out of a bump that is hard to see. So Grinch in 8th, Ron Giles in 9th, and we've got Liquid Gecko at the head of this particular battle in his Gecko Racing team colours. Thump leads us on lap 21 ahead of Senor Dude and Joe Gone Sim. Thump, I'm expecting to be putting some distance between himself and P2. He absolutely is. However, Senor Dude trying to hold off Joe Gone Sim. Senor Dude with damage on the rear of the car. So Joe has caught Senor Dude, possibly down to being off the circuit. Flashing red damage there for Senor Dude on the back of the car. His one good point of that is that he is quite close to the end of the medium tyre life. It's not hurting his top speed down into the corners here for Senor Dude, particularly against Joe Gone Sim, although he's getting some draft off the back of Joe's car. He's got bad understeer as the weight of the car moves both to the front and to the right. He's got right rear suspension damage. I wonder if that's causing him problems in that double left fast section of the race. The sort of infield jigsaw piece. Here comes Senor Dude off the tyres, but is this too early? It's 12 complete laps from the end of the race. 12 is quite a lot for the soft tyre to go. The drivers at the front of our race will be planning to get home here on the 1 stop. Certainly, Senor Dude is dropping out of the top 8 thanks to that pit stop. I don't know if anybody else is likely to be making their way in. Well, Ron will probably be 2-stopping this because of those intermediate laps at the start. But otherwise, I think he would have been fine for a 1 stop. So Grinch ahead of Yank the Tank, who goes for a late move to the inside. I wouldn't call it a dive bomb. It was actually very controlled and smooth there from Yank. Makes the overtake on Sir Grinch. And because Sir Grinch cooperated through the corner and they didn't make contact, he was able then to come straight back at Yank the Tank, get some of that slipstream and keep battling. There's the Red Bull in the centre of the racetrack. Sort of within that section that the cars are just driving around now. Sir Grinch in 8th place. Yank on similar age medium tyres as we go into what will be 13 or so laps left to go. 12 laps as they cross the line. This is Yank the Tank in P7, Sir Grinch in 8th. Let's just jump up the field here to see where everybody is relative to one another. The top 5 have really spread out. Mr. O'Keefe is more under threat from behind here in the midfield battle than he is of joining the podium, which is currently Thump, Joe Gone Sim and Jailhouse Chris. Scavvy a little bit in no man's land. Large-ish gaps in front and behind of him as we join Yank the Tank on board. Ferrari power in his Cosworth engined SF23. Slight confusion of brands there. The off-throttle rumble on our SF23s. As it accompanies flames that lick out the back as well, and the side exits for these exhausts. Yank runs through here. This is where track limits can be very difficult through turn 8. Pit lane entry on our right. We're not worried about that at the moment. Big slide through the corner there. The tyres very, very unhappy. But Yank once again a really good exit out of the final corner. The clouds are looking pretty threatening from the driver's eye view. They'll be checking their weather radar all the way through this one. Fairly gentle breeze, 2.3 meters per second, tailwind down the run from turn 1 through to turn 3. That is not going to help with slipstream. They get it back, of course, facing the opposite direction on the racetrack, but that's not going to help a huge amount, giving that tailwind. Nigel in 10th, Liquid Gecko in 11th, John P in 12th, and Nintendo in P13. It's lap 25 of the 36 for Thump, who leads Jogon Sim and Jailhouse Chris. Thump going for win number 2. Joe going for podium number 2. And Jailhouse Chris trying for win number 3 today, or at least it would be his 3rd podium as well if he can make that either of those results count. Jailhouse Chris certainly looking for that P2 as a possibility here on Joe. Joe scoring a great P2 at round 5 of this season. As I say, those Scavy, Mushakif, Ron Giles, Yentank, Sir Grinch, all a little bit far away from this current battle for P2, which Jailhouse Chris is currently chasing down Jogon Sim. Using the overtake, hasn't used a great deal of that overtake yet, as Chris. Super wide and super late on the brakes. Jailhouse Chris, exactly what he needs to push through here. The sun is starting to drop behind the Spielberg Mountains, but the drivers carry on, of course. We wait to see if those dark clouds will open up here. Doesn't make for the prettiest pictures, does it? These overcast conditions, but it does feel gritty and real. Drivers are so marginal for grip. Clearly pushing incredibly hard right now. Joe's gone a little bit wide there. He'll be slow all the way down this straight, will Joe, the number 60. As he sees Jailhouse Chris closing in even faster now. 16.6 was that lap from Joe. This one won't be anywhere near that good. 16.5 was the lap for Chris. Getting down into turn 4 we go. Chris not yet quite in that striking distance. The closest two drivers to one another on the track at the moment. We have just had a bit of a spinella possibly coming out of the pit lane. Oh, John, I'm sorry to catch that happening. Let's see, it was just a straightforward turn 1 situation here. So many times we see this for drivers. If they get too much curb, they go wrong. If they don't get any curb, they go wrong coming out of turn 2. Turn 1, excuse me. So Joe, unfortunately, the 22 in the purple era Lewis Hamilton helmet, down in 12th place. Thump leads us on lap 27 from Jogon Sim and Jailhouse Chris. And a lot of race management going on in terms of fuel and tyres here right now for anyone running the medium tyres. Just making sure you've got enough grip for the end of the race. Joe also had a pretty successful run at the first sprint weekend on round 3 here, getting a 5th and 6th place when we were at Tokyo Expressway. So Joe seems to quite like these endurance length sessions Once we've got the sprint added and the qualifying, it turns into quite a long amount of time to focus. Jailhouse Chris, 3rd position, lap 28 of the 36. A little bit of rear wing shake there over the bumps. Always good to see details like that on board these super fast, super Formula SF23s. I would have thought we should be due a new model SF for pretty soon. Some historic super formulas. I believe we are expecting a hypercar release around Le Mans for the next race update, and we are long overdue some modern hypercar Le Mans performers, and I can't wait to see those. Jailhouse Chris has gone. He has spun from the P3 provisionally. It's going to be another turn 1 situation, isn't it? Everything looking normal at the moment. It'll stab a throttle mid-corner maybe, but just so tight and difficult through turn 1. Part of the reason I think I really dislike racing here as much as I do. I really do struggle to nail these turns. Front wing damage for Chris, dropping back excuse me, behind Scavy at resuming the race, albeit with that front wing damage in front of Mishokiev. Jailhouse Chris, 5th in the championship coming in to this race, was looking for podium number 3 there and potentially win number 3 if things went awry for Thump. Now off the podium in P4, Mishokiev in 5th, and Yank the Tank isn't far away. Ron Giles, great recovery this race has been for Ron Giles to bring himself back to 7th position. His mediums will be the first ones to really complain. If he can reach the end of the race, I think he'll be doing very, very well indeed. So Grinch chasing him down. Grinch in 8th in the feature race today, 7th in the championship on his way in here. Followed up his win in round 3 with a 3rd place in round 6. So Grinch won't be a podium today, unfortunately, for him. But of course, someone else will have that great honour. Mishokiev in 5th place, following Jailhouse Chris there with the damage. Looks like Chris has struggled. That previous lap costing him 13 race seconds. And how many more will it be now that he hasn't got the performance of that front wing? You can see Mishokiev reining him in here, going for the gap. Didn't really plan the overtake, I think, but just found the damaged Jailhouse Chris trying to turn in. But is that Scavy having a problem through the corner as well? Scavy, nobody wants to finish in P3, it seems today. Scavy dropping back in terms of time. We'll see if he managed to stay ahead here. He did before they got down to turn 4. Jailhouse Chris still trying to extract the same amount of turn-in performance from his car before it had damage to how it is now. So I think they're just trying to do your normal inputs, but of course the car is understeering badly for him and struggling around at the current time anyway. Jailhouse Chris in 4th place. Scavy having a little half spin, not even a full spin, just a 90-degree rescue there, but it cost him a significant amount of time. Jailhouse Chris, I'm interested in his lap time here. A 1:19.0, Jailhouse Chris. That is 2.5 seconds slower than he was going before the damage. Is that all about that damage, I wonder? I think that would be an awful lot of aero deficit there. Yank the Tank going for his customary outside move here down into turn 3. Loves that wide line, but I think Mishokiev getting a little bit wise to it. Yank staying on the outside, had an off-track moment there for one of our racers. It's Senor Dude further back, dropping back down to 9th. But Yank the Tank fighting with Mishokiev, getting ahead of Mishokiev into turn 4 this time. Much better exit from Yank and trip down that straight away. He's now into 5th place, and slowly but surely Yank is bringing himself into a very interesting position later on in the race. We've got lap 31 of the 36. Yank the Tank moving forward then in our race. Could still get a podium with P3 Scavy very much within sight. I must go up here to see. We've got Joe Gone Sim, and that's Thump with Joe. So Joe has caught Thump here through the course of this stint. Whether that is down to a particularly slow lap. No, it's some great laps from Joe. 1:15.6 the last 2 laps has meant he's been able to catch Thump significantly there. So between 1 and 1.5 seconds faster than Thump over the last 2 laps, and he's caught to a great degree. I thought we were going to have really big gaps towards the end of the race here, but they have brought themselves back together as drivers who perhaps used a bit more fuel at the start of this race are finding themselves low on fuel now for the end, and vice versa, of course. Tends to condense the cars together. You've got Yank the Tank in 5th. Fast entry here for Yank into turn 4. And then we've got some action happening in the background there. Senor Dude, having gone very wide through turn 4 on the previous lap, suddenly back in the battle there for Sir Grinch's 7th place. Thump leads Joe Gone Sim and Scavy for now anyway, but Joe is so close here. I will go back to Joe and Thump if I see them get any closer than they currently are, but we currently have this 6-way battle for P3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 at this stage. So amazing here. Who's this? So Grinch going by Mr. Keith. That looked like a simple boost overtake. Mr. Keith has plenty of boost remaining to him. Might be tempted to use a bit here, or saving it for the final 2 or 3 laps. Senor Dude with a good slipstream. I think the benefit of a double toe down the inside into turn number 3 for Senor Dude, completing the move. Slight question mark of whether enough space was left on the strict racing track rather than the curb there from Senor Dude, but I don't know that Mr. Keith will be feeling particularly aggrieved about that one. Senor Dude absolutely bossing the entry into the corner. Here is Jailhouse Chris, tempted to put a couple of wheels out onto the dirt on the entry into 7, just to straighten that long corner as much as possible. Yank the Tank breathing down his collar as Scavy started to unlock a bit of pace here after his mini spin. Car's looking and sounding fantastic by these slightly static race cameras. Heading uphill now, pointing to the highest point of the circuit, that turn 1. A little bit like turn 1 at Austin. Jailhouse Chris didn't look particularly optimal there. Seemed to be counter-steering a couple of times through turn 1. Yank there in 5th, but like I said before, can still see the potential podium here. And I think after somewhat disastrous sprint and not the easiest getaway or qualifying, Yank I think would take a top 4 or even podium today as a successful run, notwithstanding Thump, his main title rival, having a more successful day. Scavy is not far away from the title either. Came in on 64 points, still just 6 away from the leader, and Nigel Mansner on 63 points. Jailhouse Chris on 61 as a double winner. Has been a fantastically entertaining season, back and forth between the drivers' favourite or least favourite circuits, I think. Lap 34 of 36 right now. Thump ahead of Joe Gone Sim. Not by a lot. That gold PSV racing car is Thump's. He got a 15.9 on the last lap. Joe a 16.4. I wonder if we used a bit of boost there. Passing and lapping Joe Gone Sim's teammate John P. As we head down into turn 4 now. And Joe Gone Sim. It's time is running out to get this new win. Joe Gone Sim. He's managed a 2nd place in round 5. But a win has eluded him so far this season. All the drivers glowing red on their engine covers. That means they're in the last 25% of their boost. Sorry, last 10% of their boost. And they obviously have a long way yet to go before they can reach the absolute end of that. Here is Segrinch in 6th, Yank the Tank in 5th ahead of him. Senor Dude now just directly behind Yank the Tank. Sorry, Segrinch. Senor Dude behind Segrinch. Seesawing back towards each other. Segrinch has picked up a half-second penalty. He'll be paying for that on the final lap of the race. Could put him at the back of this queue right now. They head up towards the start-finish line, and they start their final lap. Thump and Jogon Sim are already on their final lap naturally. Let's find them, shall we? As Joe closes in here. Has he got the performance and the fuel left in the car? They've got equal fuel amounts, but Jogon Sim has a fair amount, several seconds more of boost than Thump has. Will be able to utilize it and possibly look at a drag race finish. I think the gaps are just slightly too much here. Joe mashing the boost button on the way out of turn 8 to head down in towards turn 9. Looks like Thump has got this feature race though. Through turn 10, Thump for PSV Racing wins for his 2nd time the feature race in 2026. A great performance from Jogon Sim as well in P2. Someone smashed their car up at the end and gotten in the way of drivers coming through there, causing a yellow flag. Scavvy is in 3rd position. He comes through, and Jailhouse Chris, with damage on the front wing, has put in a heroic effort to come home in P4. Scavvy home, though, from 3rd in the championship to 3rd on the grid in round 7. Scavvy home in 3rd, Jailhouse Chris in 4th, and Yank the Tank home in P5. Here comes Senor Dude for 6th place, Mashuk Keith in 7th, Liquid Gecko home in 8th place. Apologies, haven't really talked about him very much. Nigel Mansnail in the 81 in P9. And we have Sir Grinch and Ron Giles heading through. Sir Grinch was, unfortunately, a driver to run out of fuel. It looks a similar situation possibly for Ron, who thinks he's finished the race, but he hasn't crossed the line. He's definitely run out of fuel, but he doesn't want to go by and do any more. Sir Grinch is touring, unfortunately for him. John P is in 12th, Nintendo in 13th. But Thump wins the feature ahead of Jogon Sim and Scavvy for round 7 of the championship. Don't forget, we will be back with more SVR racing every racing weekend except in July. we had the month of July off, but from us here at SVR, thank you so much for saying or leaving a positive mark on the video today if you can. We've been very grateful to have you with us. Thank you so much for watching. We will catch you on the next race day.